Another day of me being sick hopefully leads to a sick draft. Welcome to the climb. Alright, welcome to my very first Best Ball in 15. I'm very excited about this draft. It was quite a fun one for me. Not too many snipes, a couple falls that I should have got, but let's see what happens. So I'm drafting out of the 11th spot this time. I've been drafting a whole bunch of drafts out there, it seems like, so I'm getting pretty comfortable drafting around this slot in particular. For me, I'm pretty comfortable taking most of these wide receivers, but if Ekeler or Bijan fall, that's who I'm taking. I love Austin Ekeler as a whole. I really think he is on CMC par level. I think he should be taken probably around the 6th or 7th spot in most drafts. So anytime he falls to the 11th spot, I'm pretty happy getting him there. Depending if you want to go wide receiver or running back, I understand wide receivers that are premium in these leagues where we're starting 3 wide receivers every single week. But Austin Ekeler and CMC are one and the same in my eyes, so I don't see him going that much later. With our second pick, we went Amon-Ra St. Brown. We definitely wanted to start building that wide receiver core, so started off strong with one of the guys that I think is going to take another step forward. I see him going in the first round next year. As long as Jared Goff is slinging 45 passes a game, there's not much worry in my eyes there. And it's got a super good game stack. I love the Detroit-Dallas stack. There's a lot of pieces that you can get later in the drafts. And same thing with the Chargers and Denver game stack. There's a lot players you can get late, in the middle, all over the draft that end up coming out pretty A-okay. So for this third round pick, I was trying to take Calvin Ridley, and luckily he fell to us. I've been saying a whole bunch that Trevor Lawrence is going to take a step forward in this offense. It's actually his third year, but kind of his second year. His first year under Urban Meyer hardly counts in my eyes, but Calvin Ridley's coming back. We know that he's fully healthy, and if he can produce like he was beforehand, this is a steal of a pick because I really do see Calvin Ridley potentially going in the first round as well next year. These are all guys I'm praying for, thinking the best, drafting as if I'm right. Next pick, I went Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy's a pretty safe pick here. Russ's favorite target in that offense, and it's a game stack with Austin Ekeler. So I kind of like getting a premium game stack here and there. I had a small reach on Jeudy. I believe it's 3 or 4 spots past ADP, but nothing too crazy. And I knew that I could potentially get Russell Wilson later in the draft if I wanted to go that route, build around them. Greg D, Marvin Mims later in the draft. Plenty of people. Even Tim Patrick, if you want to take him in the 17th or 18th round. We don't even know that Tim Patrick is not the third wide receiver on this team. We don't even know if he's not the second. Sutton's kind of scary too in my eyes. So coming around for my 5th and 6th picks, I was hoping I'd get Miles Sanders. I also considered Ken Walker because he was slipping too. Didn't have much interest in Aaron Jones, so came off the board before me. Didn't hurt. I ultimately decided Tyler Lockett. I wanted to build a wide receiver room. Ken Walker and Miles Sanders both came off, so I came into a little bit of a sense of panic there for a small amount of time. I also considered Trevor Lawrence, but that was a little bit of a reach in my eyes. Not too much, but I just didn't want to go the quarterback route just yet. So we ultimately settled on Deontay Johnson. He's one guy we've been talking about a lot. If he regresses positively in any way for, I guess regression isn't positive anytime, but goes in the right direction for his touchdowns, gets those back up. He's a guy that ultimately will have a lot more points than what he did last year and is currently undervalued. One of my favorite players just to draft across the board. He's a target monster, and targets are an earned stat, believe it or not. Looking at this next pick, I was starting to salivate a little bit with Trevor Lawrence still sitting there on the board. Didn't think he would make it to me, so I queued up Brandon Cooks. And DeAndre Swift was the other pick I wanted, I believe, at this rate. So I ended up going Brandon Cooks with this first pick solely for the fact we got that game stack now that Dallas-Detroit. It opened up Dak Prescott for me. I still have the option to go Russ and also Jared Goff. Plenty of routes that I like. I took James Conner with the second pick. I think he is one of the better running backs at this ADP. I think he can hold his own. He's going to be the workhorse in an offense. There's no one behind him. I know the offense probably won't score a whole lot of points, But still, if he's catching passes and rushing for 60 yards a game and getting the goal line work, I mean, there's always the upside that one or two touchdowns are going to score a game fall into his hands. So James Conner is a guy that I've been very, very big on. And Irwin makes the argument that him and Miles Sanders are similar. And the more I talk about it, the more it sits in my head as something that seems reasonable. But I do think Miles Sanders is a step above. But James Conner, he's got potential to take on a lot more of the offense here. So next two picks around, I was really, really hoping that I could maybe get Charbonnet, but he came off at the top of the round there. Charbonnet is another guy that I like to be a stabilizing piece. Ultimately, I decided on getting Dak Prescott because he was still holding out for me. I was like, thank you, sir. 8 spots past ADP, so that's pretty lucky for us that he fell that late at that point. I did want to pick up another running back here sooner rather than later, so I went with my old reliable Antonio Gibson. Seems like that guy is just going to take over the J.D. McKissic role, and if he truly does do that, it is going to be good for my teams across the board. He's currently my highest owned player, and I think he is going to be that stabilizing piece in that offense. And for fantasy as a whole, he really isn't going to touch the ball a lot otherwise, I don't think. Might get about 6 to 8 touches, but I think he'll catch about 5 or 6 passes a game. So in a half PPR league such as this one, he'll be a good piece to kind of cover the bye weeks. Not that you need to focus too much on that, but something that I like to do just to be aware of. Make sure I don't draft 3 wide receivers that have the week 9 bye like I did here. Here I was trying to decide between Jared Goff and Russell Wilson. I went Jared Goff because Greg Dulcich I didn't think would make it back around to me, and I didn't necessarily want to take him here. I kind of wanted to touch my running back room a little bit more, so I picked Jaylen Warren to go with the Tyler Lockett game stack at the end there. So Jaylen Warren was a little bit of reach, but he's another guy that also is very high on my drafted list, so I'm okay with reaching on guys that I'm confident in. So I went Jared Goff because I felt confident that I would be able to get Laporta next time around. And I think I also thought about Rondale Moore instead of Jaylen Warren for a little bit. Same thing with Kendre Miller. Didn't have any game stack with Kendre Miller, so I faded that route. Rondale Moore would have been another guy that would have paired with James Conner in Arizona. And I was going to consider Kenny Gainwell later just to go with the James Conner stack anyway. So Rondale Moore was an option there. But ultimately, Jaylen Warren I think is going to have more production, so I felt pretty safe going with him in this spot. Main guy I was looking at this round was DJ Chark. Seems like he's going to be an awesome player. He could potentially be the 1 in the offense. He could potentially be in the 3. Taking him as my 7th receiver here, I didn't feel bad about that. Having the potential wide receiver 1 as my wide receiver 7 felt A-okay. Did hurt me seeing Russ fall all the way back around. I could have got a value on a quarterback there, so I could have taken a Rondale Moore instead of Jared Goff potentially and had a different wide receiver, but it's all right. I probably would have gone Chuba later instead to get the Carolina game stack, but we took Laporta. Said it a million times, he could be the 2nd wide receiver in this offense. I like it a whole lot. We knew TJ Hawkinson produced pretty well. He was one of the higher end tight ends while he was in Detroit, and when he went to Minnesota, he proved that he could still be that. So whether the talent is with TJ Hawkinson or it's just the strategy in Detroit, who knows? But that's not the route I went. So I was looking at finishing out the running back room here, and there was a couple guys that were sliding. I wanted to go Tajay, but then I was like, no, let's look at Jeff Wilson. We can go Jeff Wilson, Gus Edwards, hoping that one of those 2 guys will break off a big run in the Week 17 game stack. And it was a game stack I could correlate right back to back and finish out the running back room strong with some names that I like. The running back room in Miami is going to be by committee like it was last year, I assume. Hoping that Dalvin doesn't land there for this team. Hoping for others, like the last one I drafted, that he does end there. It's all in the air at this point. Who knows where Dalvin's going to end. So Jeff Wilson could be a backseat driver most of the year. But if not, I feel confident enough in the rest of the running back room to carry me throughout this draft season. Lastly, I was looking out to finish up tight ends. As we saw, we only had Laporta, so I wanted to take some guys that had some upside. I think the obvious one was Ferguson from Dallas. Made sense to go ahead and take him get the game stack. We already got the tight end from that side, tight end from this side. Hoping that one of them catch a bunch of touchdowns in that game. And we took Isaiah Likely, our favorite last round pick, solely for the fact because anything happens to Mark Andrews, he's going to fill a very prominent role. He had a lot of targets as a rookie. We're not so sure about the Baltimore receiving room. Why not roll with it and hope for the best? So let's go ahead and jump into our team recap here. We'll talk about our game stacks, how I felt about the team as a whole, ADP value, all that kind of good stuff. Did we end up stacking our quarterbacks? Yes, we did. Dak Prescott, Brandon Cooks, and Jake Ferguson, Jared Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and everybody's favorite tight end, Sam Laporta. Week 17 game stack. Did we? Yes. However, they're playing each other, so that limits our upside a little bit. If I would have realized that in the moment, I probably would have tried to lean Russ a little bit more to build around that. But ultimately, these are two teams I think will score a lot of points, so I don't hate it. But my upside is limited in that sense. Our roster construction, I gave a 5 out of 5. As we can see from the graphic that Erwin used last week from TJ Hernandez, 2.673 was the best playoff advancement rate over expectation, and that's what we ran here. We had more than 5 wide receivers through round 9. We actually had 6, and we had 4 running backs before round 13 even. So we checked those off pretty nice and safely. However, our ADP was not exactly the best that we've ever had. Felt like I had to reach for quite a few players, but nothing too drastic. But it ended up okay. I don't hate what I did there. When we're drafting at the turn, we do have to reach sometimes. So ultimately, it came out fine in my eyes. But, I wish we would have been able to get some more values. And if we would have took Russ, I would have gave it probably a 4 instead at that point in the reach. So for our playoff stacks. Week 15 looks pretty okay. We got Denver, Detroit, got a couple soft ones there. Jerry Jeudy being the primary piece in the Denver offense. I like that. Baltimore, Jacksonville, kind of soft, but, also has some upside. Same thing in Week 17 with Jeff Wilson going along with the Dallas guys here. Just got to hope he breaks off a big run. Our Week 15-16 is very, very soft, but Week 17 we took over, did real well on a lot of those game stacks with bigger name players. Detroit, Dallas, we got Dak Prescott, Jared Goff, Amon-Ra, Brandon Cooks, Jake Ferguson, Sam Laporta. We got pretty much somebody at every position almost there. Missed out on the running backs, but that's A-okay with me. Miami, Baltimore, we took the Jeff Wilson, Gus Edwards, like I discussed earlier. We took that right off the bat just to be smart, cover our grounds. Isaiah Likely, hopeful upside. Got a lot of targets last year, hoping to continue on that. Carolina, Jacksonville, Calvin Ridley, DJ Chark. Pittsburgh, Seattle, Jaylen Warren, Tyler Lockett. And we got the Chargers and Broncos finishing off with the 2 stud pieces of Austin Eckler and Jerry Jeudy. So, thank you guys for watching this video. As you guys know, we're on the road to 100 subscribers. We're giving away $25, aka Best Ball Mania 4 entry, aka 5 puppy entries, whatever you guys prefer. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, subscribe on YouTube. Doing both gives you double entries into us. Make sure to follow us on all the social medias. If you want to use Erwin's promo code at the bottom there to match your first time deposit, we would love that. Anyway, thank you guys for watching my first episode of Best Ball in 15. I hope you guys have a lovely weekend. Until next time, best of luck to you. Happy drafting. See you later.